have the friends taken polygraphs?
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed, and all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And so, and they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a polygraph test. Why do you say that's
from what you understand? Did they tell you they took a poly and passed?
Yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there. So that's what I'm saying from my understanding. They told me that
So this damn fool is just taking these boys' word for everything they said they have done. You said they have shown you pictures of everything. They proven everything, but you have no proof. They have actually taken a polygraph.
Nancy Grace have caught Officer Tatum in several lies. Let's just say she caught him trying to push an agenda or a narrative as if these boys were 100% telling him the truth, and made him take steps back to be like, oh, I see what you're saying. See, Officer Tatum has been taking these boys' word for it to be truthful because a black boy has met his demise. Officer Tatum is a bad face actor, and he didn't do proper investigating, and Nancy Grace showed him what proper investigating is. Let's get into the video.
There's been a lot of controversy. Were photos, were texts deleted? Were snaps deleted? We've been trying to figure it out, but we're seeing through a mirror darkly. We don't know. But according to experts, a trail will be left if anything has been deleted, even if you delete it from the deleted file. Now, joining us, special guest, Brandon Tatum. You know him well. He's a former police officer with Tucson PD. That's what impresses me. What impresses a lot of other people is he is the star of The Officer Tatum. Officer Tatum, thank you for being with us tonight. Question to you. You interviewed, as we played at the get-go, several of Nolan's friends. Did they show you photos, videos, snaps of that day on Horn Island?
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for having me on. I spoke to 4 of the boys that are originally accused of being involved in Nolan Wells' death. And they did show me a lot of evidence. I want people to be very clear with this. I spent my career putting people in jail. My career is based on getting justice for people who have been done wrong.
You haven't spent your career in the media on protecting anything that's black or agreeing with anybody that's black that is an actual victim. You have always took the side of white folks. Now, y'all watch how well behaved he is when he in the prison of Nancy Grace, this white woman.
Never been a defense attorney. So me going out and doing this was to find out what happened to Nolan Wells. And in talking to these young men, the burden of proof is they're going to have to prove to me. I'm not going to listen to what they say out of their mouth. They're going to show me. And in many cases, they showed me videos of Nolan on the island. They showed me videos of the boat when they were getting towed out, which is consistent with, kind of similar to what the phone call was. I mean, they showed me pictures of them with Nolan. They showed me phone records of them calling Nolan's mom and all of the above. So
that's disingenuous. They called Nolan's mom at 11 or 12 a.m. that night of July 4th. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you feel like your friend was missing, why would you call 7 to 8 hours later? When y'all got back to the boy house around between 4:30 and 6 o'clock, y'all knew Nolan wasn't there for a few hours. And then the first thing you do is call the Coast Guard because you said, we know people die out there, just for him to end up dead. So when you listen to Brandon Tatum, don't listen for anything that he's saying as factual without the context.
They seemed very consistent. They seemed very genuine. And they also.
And another thing, we haven't heard any timestamps. We don't know when this video was made. Just like they said, the picture in the pool could have been was 2 weeks earlier. This could have been 2 weeks earlier.
Prove to me some of the things that they had told me in the interview that I had with them that I have uploaded on my YouTube channel.
Officer Tatum, are you telling me that they had reception on Horn Island? Because many people are saying, well, the reason that there's nothing on Nolan's phone of that day, like there's no pictures, there's no snaps, there's no text, there's no anything, not because it was deleted, but because he didn't have reception. But you're telling me the other boys did have snaps, photos, videos, and reception?
Yeah, no, Nancy, let me clarify this for you. It wasn't that they uploaded this online. They showed me videos and things that they took from the boat during the outing on 4th of July. I was personally out at Horn Island. I rode out there on a boat, and I didn't have great reception there. And I left my phone in the boat when I got into the water and we were actually going out to do interviews.
Objection. You've been in court long enough to know you're going to get objections. You said you didn't have great reception, but you did have reception, did you not?
No, there was reception there. It just wasn't great, and it wasn't great enough for people, in my opinion, to upload. You can make a phone call, potentially, but you wasn't going to upload data to a social media account. Now, could people take the steps to do it if they're dedicated enough? Yes, but it doesn't appear that would have been a frequent thing, given the fact that you probably had 1 or 2 bars out there. And I heard evidence of that. Not only did I see evidence of it when I went out there myself personally with my cell phone, when I listened to the CETO call, you could tell that the call dropped out several times. It seemed like they were having trouble at times hearing it.
No. The call didn't drop out at all. They act like they couldn't hear the operator. We heard everything. Hey, make sure you get your black on black love t-shirts. The website should be pinned in the comments. You might see view products on the screen, or you can go to 95way.com. You wear this as a message, but you live it as a mindset. We heard everything from when they called and they didn't know they was being recorded automatically until the phone hung up. It wasn't dropping. It was people moving around doing things on the boat that we don't know what they was doing. They was intoxicated and they was high. So, no. It wasn't no bad reception.
Each other. So it is consistent. And anybody that travel out there that have gone to the 4th of July celebration, they know that the reception is not very great. So the videos that they showed me in call logs were things that were not associated to social media, that they never posted on social media. It was, pictures and videos that they took on their phone.
Okay. Let me refine my question. I take it from your last answer that the answer is yes, you had reception on Horn Island.
Yes, I did have reception on Horn Island.
Mind you, this is a prosecutor, a former prosecutor, in the woman, Nancy, versus a former cop, Brandy. You see the prestigious thinking level in skills and trait. You see the difference on why police officers don't prosecute, why they barely know the law, why they don't investigate thoroughly, because they're not detectives. They do a baseline investigation. He's done a baseline investigation with these kids. She going into it looking for all possible angles, even an accident. She ain't saying, oh, they did this, but she's saying we're not ruling that out. So when he get down with somebody that's intellectual and have been actually doing this, and her content is still being an investigator, but an investigator journalist, and she does this daily, yeah, you can't pull one over on this woman.
We just played that CETO call. It's 2 words, SEATOW, and it's kind of insurance that people have that are boat goers. And if you have a problem, CETO will come and tow you back to the mainland. They said they had a problem. They said they were taking on water. One of your takes is that all the chatter that we're hearing, wake up, Nolan, are you dead, Nolan, wake the F up, Nolan, could be referring to the battery, the bilge on the boat, that it's all unclear. Regarding the boat being disabled, apparently it was not. Listen.
So first, at 9:56 a.m., the boat leaves the original dock. It arrives at Horn Island at 11:14. So at around 4 o'clock, there is a call to the Coast Guard about the boat. NBC News got a hold of it.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Everybody's on board. So does that mean Nolan is on there? Who was on that boat? At 4:31, the boat leaves Horn Island and it is towed approximately 3 miles, and then the tow ends. So after 3 miles, they go back to the original dock, okay? They arrive at 5:44 p.m. So it looks like this is where Horn Island is, and this is where the original dock is that I am referring to. I looked it up, and El Camino Real Road is in Gulf Hills, Mississippi, which is right above Ocean Springs. So I'm wondering if this is the house where they got the phone. Now, the boat travels to Fort Bayou. At 6:06, the boat returns to the original dock. Then, from the original dock...
So you telling me at 4:31, the boat got towed for only 3 miles. And they said, oh, we don't need to tow anymore. Everything's good. Everything's good. Then the boat returns to the original dock on its own fruition. So how long did they get towed for? About 30 minutes? That's strange.
The boat goes back to Fort Bayou, and then they go to the boat launch, and it is put onto the trailer and moved by the vehicle. Did they drop people off at the original dock, travel to Fort Bayou?
You know who stays in Fort Bayou? They're alleging the dude Bart Edmondson. Bart Edmondson stays in Fort Bayou.
But they say he wasn't there. Well, he said he wasn't there. But Warren said he asked his buddy Bart to grab his boat, which I believe that was a second boat. I don't believe Cito came out. I believe there was the friend's boat that Bart owned came out and was towed.
Pick somebody up and go back to that original dock. And then from there, why was there an hour and 13-minute time gap? This boat was sinking hours before, and then they're just having it docked for an hour and 13 minutes. You would think they'd want to get that boat out of the water ASAP.
That from the real TikTok detective, the boat wasn't sinking. They told Cito it was sinking. What's the truth? Was it sinking and they repaired it? Did they have a leak and they repaired it and kept on SOP? Brandon Tatum joining us, former cop, now star of the Officer Tatum, did the young man.
That dumb look on his face. Now, how you gonna explain this? Cause he didn't do proper investigative journalism for him to even know all this. Looking stupid. So what he about to say? He about to blame it on somebody black or something. I ain't even seen this. So he gonna say something crazy. He gonna switch the subject. How much I want to bet? He just gonna switch the subject, and she gonna reel his ass back in
And explain those travels we just identified.
Yeah, 100% they did that. I wish that people on the internet would have had an opportunity, and they can go look at the interview that I did with Warren, but they had an opportunity to actually talk to these young men to get this in perspective. Because some people have no idea how boats function and how they work. They explained to me, they took me on a boat and showed me exactly where they went, where they docked, where did they, stop at, how did they get the bilge pump and the water out of the boat and all of the above. So they were sinking, they were taking on water. The water came up high enough that the batteries weren't working. They had to get a tow to kind of tow them out, where you can see the young lady saying about 3 miles out. It's a complicated boat jargon, but they ended up getting the boat out. They ended up getting it to the point where they could run the boat run the water out of the boat through a hole in the boat that they ended up plugging. They explained all this. Anybody that does boating know exactly what they're talking about if you hear them explain it on the interview. So they have an explanation for all of these things. And not only that, Nancy, they showed me video of them on the boat, and Nolan was not on the boat. Nolan was not on the boat log, and there are people who saw Nolan on the island.
Wow, they showed you a video and Nolan wasn't on the boat. Why the fuck would he be on the boat if he was dead? If they killed him, why would they show you images and videos of him being on the boat? This is common sense. Why would you show a former officer that everybody suspect you to done some foul play to, that the person that ended up dead, you show him videos and pictures of him? Now, he ain't explaining why they get towed out 3 miles. If your boat sinking and having troubles, and wouldn't you want to get home safely so that particular issue won't potentially happen again? So you want somebody to accompany you until you go dock the boat? Don't that make sense? He ain't addressing why did that boat go here and it left again. Went to Fort Bayou, alleged is where Bart stayed. Bart is somebody there alleging that the girl Katie that was with Nolan, that they say was with Nolan last, she's supposed to be Bart's ex-girlfriend or current girlfriend or something like this. This is alleged. So in Fort Bayou, they say this is where Bart stay. So y'all go to Fort Bayou first, and then you go to these other places when the boat was supposed to be sinking when you needed help. But then the grandfather said, "Oh no, they don't need help." So who towed them out? You called Cito. Everybody thinking that Cito sent somebody out. Nah, I believe that was his friends. I believe that was Bart's boat. That's why he said, "Damn it, Bart."
Closer to around 6 p.m., which is far after they left, far after this phone call was made, I saw text messages from the young lady that Nolan was with, the young lady named Katie. I saw her text messages. In her text messages, she say that she heard the boys yelling for Nolan to get on the boat. He did not. She said in her text message that she did not see Nolan get on the boat he came on, which was Wyatt's boat.
That's a lie, because they didn't say that. Now he's switching up. She said she assumed that Nolan left with them. That was the last time she seen him. But he flipping it up. He flipping the script.
Which is the boat that was sinking and they ended up leaving on. So it wasn't just a statement that they made on a podcast. They were actually showing me evidence to the contrary of what the mainstream YouTubers and some media outlets are putting out to people at large. And so I wish that people would go watch the interview or at least take some time to listen to these boys' statement. And I'll say this, Nancy, too. I wish that the family would have taken the time, or at least Benjamin Crump would have taken the time to reach out to the lawyers or reach out to these young boys to get their statements so they're not wasting their time sending everybody on a rabbit trail when they could have just talked to these boys. And they could have, but they refused, because I saw a message from Warren where he called Nolan's mom twice. I've seen messages from Warren's stepmother, Ashley, where
You seen a message from Warren when he called his mom twice. You not saying he called. See, this is why this story is so confusing, because they doing a lot of lying. What time did he call his mom? Around 11 p.m. Around almost 7 hours, 8 hours later, when they've been having his phone for 7 or 8 hours, having his car keys for 7 or 8 hours. Now he like, we need to check on Nolan. 7 or 8 hours later. And they said Bart that wasn't supposed to be there, he made a missing persons report, I think around 7 p.m. So what is he talking about? I wish they would go look at the interviews. Your interviews isn't ironclad, as if we can just clear these boys' name when they all been lying. Nobody goes to an anti-black man platform to speak about a black death. Nobody in their right mind. So the judge mother reaching out to him was a red flag. She knew how you was gonna look at this.
He sent Nolan mom a text saying, please reach out to me whenever you're ready. I would like to talk. Other parents I saw messages from who reached out to Nolan's mom saying, we need to talk. Can we talk? I'm available if you need to talk to us. I do not understand at this point why Benjamin Crump would go out and put misinformation out online when he had the availability to talk to these kids and clear these things up like I did before he presented this to the public.
We didn't clear nothing up. He's trying to make it seem like his interviews are evidence to clear their name. You are not a private investigator. You're not a federal investigator. You're not an agent. You a podcaster, an ex-police officer that didn't climb the ranks, a failed football player that didn't make it to the NFL. Like, that's what you is. You're not an investigator for you to be like, oh, this is proof.
I also reached out to Benjamin Crump 4 times. And on the 5th time, they come back and tell us that the family is not doing interviews. We didn't ask to talk to the family. We asked to talk to the attorney, Benjamin Crump. Why? So we can come together as a community and solve what happened.
Nobody want to talk to you, nigga. You are a bad faith actor. You see how you talk about Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and whoever else black that owns some type of civil. He even talked bad about Martin Luther King. Yeah, he might not have been the best man. He did whatever he can for black people that he thought that was best, which struck the civil rights. Now we got civil rights. Now we somehow are treated like a human now. But nobody wants to come together with you when you are a bad faith actor and you talk shit about them all the time. Nah, nobody want to work with you or give you no information so you can go flip the script and misinform the public because you have a narrative against black people and black victims and black cries and black voices. You crazy.
To Nolan Wells, not create and stoke division, which is what I've seen
Mr.
from
Tatum,
Benjamin
that
Crump.
is exactly what we're trying to do. And I hear everything you're saying. And, I think like a prosecutor, my main goal is to find the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. And one thing I cannot get away from is the medical examiner. I'm trying to get to tonight's news, which I'm going to get to, but you were seeing video from WLOX. Speaking of sinking, is at an alleged issue with the boat bilge. Well, Randy and Bunny on TikTok have their interpretation of that. Watch this.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down.
That from Randy and Bunny on TikTok. Have the friends taken polygraphs?
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed, and all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a polygraph test.
Why do you say that's from what you understand? Did they tell you they took a poly and passed?
Yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there. So that's what I'm saying from my understanding. They told me that
So this damn fool is just taking these boys' word for everything they said they have done. You said they have shown you pictures of everything. They proven everything, but you have no proof. They have actually taken a polygraph.
The boys, except one, which is Warren, I believe, took a polygraph test. All of them did not have lawyers and did it and cooperated with police. Warren also cooperated with police. I just believe he didn't take a lot to take the test, but Warren is the young man that I interviewed. So according to what they told me.
Why he didn't take one? If they telling you they took one, why he didn't take one when he was on the boat?
They all took a lie detector test and passed. And it's an equivalent of a lie detector test. It's not a traditional lie detector test, but it's the same theology of trying to get to if a person is lying. I don't know the name of it. It's an equivalent of a lie detector test. It's a different methodology. I don't believe it was a polygraph test. I believe they took other stressors in order to analyze if
so
the
then
people were
the
telling
answer
the truth or
to
not.
did they take a polygraph would be no.
Well, yeah, I think it could be semantics because they took a test to analyze whether or not they were being truthful in their statements, and that certified test, they passed it. It just wasn't considered a traditional polygraph. I think it's a more advanced way of doing it.
Brandon Tatum. Hold on. In a nut.
Do y'all see this? He did that same laugh when he know he is caught up and not telling the truth or seeing something truthful. When he heard, "Damn it, Bart. Damn it, Bart." He did that same little laugh. When he is being deceptive.
Shall
We have a membership. Shut the fuck up! Damn it, Bart.
I've been told, but I can't verify, that the boat in question has been searched by scent dogs and cadaver dogs. Is that true?
I'm not familiar if that's true. Let me just clarify. The test that they took was a voice stress analysis test instead of what we call a traditional polygraph test. But I'm not familiar with the cadaver dog searching the boat. I wasn't informed that was the case. But I was told by the...
So they didn't take a polygraph. Nobody want to voice stress. What the hell is that? When all their parents or prestigious people in their community inside the courtroom as well, where they would be judged.
Boys that they did not wash the boat off or do any of those things that they were accused of doing, after this incident.
Right.
And I say, based on all the things that I've heard, it appears that they've been very truthful with me. And law enforcement. They've already communicated with law enforcement very early on.
Okay, Officer Tatum, coming from you, I do give that credence because you were a Tucson PD. I've had people sit down, look me right in the face and lie, and they are so convincing. So I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know what happened, and that's why I really resent people suggesting the investigation be shut down. We're not doing that until we know what happened. Officer Tatum interviewed multiple of the young men on that boat. Now, let me address what's happened in the last hours. The family is not buying what they are saying, that nothing was deleted. They're not saying they're lying. They're not saying they're telling the truth. They have hit social media giants with subpoenas once and for all to get everything there is to get about Nolan Wells Digital. Back to Officer Tatum, star of The Officer Tatum on YouTube. Did the young men you interviewed, I believe it was 4 of them, state that Nolan did not have reception, or did they explain why there are no pictures, texts, instance, nothing on his phone? Did they have an explanation for that?
Yes, ma'am. They didn't mention anything about whether Nolan has service or not, but they articulated the reason why Nolan may not have, certain pictures on his phone. And they had mentioned because Nolan spent the night at their house the night before, because it's traditional for the last few years that they actually went to Horn Island together. But they were saying that they had taken pictures at the house. Some of the pictures that you've seen floating around online were pictures that they took on the boat, but they didn't take those pictures when they got out, out there to Horn Island because they were having fun. And I would argue that they were drinking, and I couldn't imagine that they want to get underage drinking on camera. So what they had articulated to me that it wasn't abnormal for people not to snap and not to do a lot of pictures and things like that because they were focused on
So who decided to pull up on the sinking boat and take pictures? In a time of being distressed, you decide to take pictures. But when you having fun, enjoying yourself, you don't want to capture those memories.
But you told me they showed you pictures and videos.
Yeah,
so
but
they
it's
did
not
take
uploaded.
pictures and videos.
No. It's not. It's not a lot of pictures, and they weren't uploaded. So when you're talking about Snapchat, you're talking about a platform where people are uploading images and pictures to produce to the world. What they showed me were things that they had recorded on their phone, and it wasn't a lot of different things because most of what they did was drinking and having fun in the water. And so, what they had articulated to me as well is that it's not abnormal for people not to snap. It's not abnormal for you not to have your phone. And Nolan wasn't the only person that left his phone on the boat. They also mentioned to me, and you can see it in the interview that they did, was that they had no reason to touch Nolan's phone. They weren't thinking about Nolan's phone.
So who all left their phones on the boat? Who all left their phone on the boat where they had to take it back to Fort Bayou and back to the last particular spot where they had to come pick up their phone? Who all did that? He wasn't the only one. So who all left their phone on the boat that stayed on the island or went somewhere else?
When they thought the boat was sinking, and when they got to the house, it was no incident when it comes to Nolan getting his phone back to the friend and parent.
You're going far afield from my question. Let me redirect you back to their phones. Nolan has nothing on his phone. They have pictures and videos on their phones. You told me that they exist, whether they posted them or not. Mm-hmm. So they were taking pictures and videos. Don't you see why the mom, Nolan's mom, is concerned there's nothing on her son's phone?
Well, Nancy, it's unclear exactly what the mother is articulating, because at one point she's concerned that there's not a lot of Snapchats or social media posting. She did not articulate, or the Benjamin Crumb did not mention that there's nothing on his phone. So they're not saying that the phone was wiped and there's no images or anything. She was concerned about his social media frequency, which I believe, after talking to the boys, it was consistent with what
I think his mother, that is a medical professional, is smart enough to know if something or nothing is on his phone. They say they believe things were deleted. So if they went into the Snapchat and found that you're sharing your location with Warren because that's your friend, but when you get in the messages in Snapchat, there's nothing, there's no messages from Warren, but you sharing your location. This is the type of thing that you got to add context to. Like, she cooked Officer Tatum. This is an ignorant ex-officer who only could have been an officer, because he couldn't have been a detective, prosecutor, nor a lawyer.
They said, and it was consistent with basic deductive reasoning, that maybe he didn't post a lot on that day. So what remains a focus for me, and if I was investigating this
not
case,
talking about
I
posting.
would want to know.
Not talking about whether he posted, officer.
No,
he didn't even
take
anything. There's no pictures. There's no anything.
That's what the mom is saying, but we haven't had an opportunity to either see or hear exactly what she's trying to articulate. Some of the things that she said in the media is that she's talking about posting. I don't believe she said that there was nothing at all on his phone, no pictures, no nothing. But I wasn't able to verify that. So if I was able to see Nolan's phone and the mother was able to show me exactly what she's articulating, I'll be able to have a better perspective in comparison to what Warren and the other boys were telling me. So at this point, I only have one side of it, and then I have a fractured perception from what the media or what the mother is saying in the media. So when the police officers look at his phone and they do a forensic extraction, if they're allowed to do that, they will see plainly if Nolan was on his phone, if he had taken pictures, and if they were deleted. Now, I'll implement this as we begin to try to guess and figure out what was happening on that day. it doesn't seem to be reasonable to suggest that the boys were in his phone deleting things. Now, after hanging out with the boys and getting to know them well, they're very intelligent young men, very savvy, and they were raised well. I would project, if I were to make an assumption, that if they were trying to cover up something that happened to Nolan, I would perceive that they would throw the phone in the water or something where it never would be recovered. Or if they had access to get into the phone, they wouldn't just delete. They would just completely rewrite the phone or, do a hard reset. Or they wouldn't give the phone back to mama or the family anyway. So with those factors put in place and what I've talked to them about, it seems as if their story seems consistent to me.
Or they didn't know the mother had the Life 360 app on that motherfucker. And they were surprised. They were surprised that the mom sent a friend to go pick up the phone. Because if everybody left their phones on the boat, how would they know who phone is who? So they made it seem like people that didn't get on the boat when they left their phone. So people still on the island left their phone on the boat. So what happened was they probably seen Nolan's phone last minute. If they was to go to it, probably seen the phone last minute, and the mom had already tracked it. Like, come on now, you want to say, I think these boys smart enough to cover their tracks. That's what he's saying.
They did not get in the phone. They did not know his password. They had no reason to believe that there was a necessity to get in the phone.
Officer,
and they gave it over to the family. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I'm saying I'm not taking anybody's word for anything until I investigate it and corroborate it. Again,
that's fair.
Maybe they're completely innocent. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Or maybe someone else had something to do with Nolan's death. I don't know, but I will find out. And you said, I don't know what she said exactly. Well, here is what Nolan's mother said.
And when we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed, hey Ma, come on, take a picture of me. Like that was Nolan. So that's why we feel that things may have been deleted, was because of the fact that there was nothing in either one of his accounts.
Okay, to Tanya Jordan, Bark, parental control officer and author